And good day, everyone. I'm your host, Paul Lawrence Van, and I hope that you're doing great today, just as I am. And today, what I want to share with you is that Wealth Academy podcast is moving in a new direction. And what do I mean by this? What I mean by this is that over the last several years, I've had a platform for solo as well as interviewing guests. And now I'm going to shift it just a little bit to make it a little bit more specific going forward. And today marks that day where this all starts. So episode 314 really consists of it's all about you and what you want to achieve. In other words, it starts with you, and it's the power of self-leadership. And I really have leaned in and poured into self leadership because until we can lead ourselves, you can never lead anyone else. And everyone is a leader because if you have a life, you're leading it whether you know it or not. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today as I get started. And on this particular playlist I have for starting this fourth quarter, I'm going to start with some mindset. And that's what today is all about. It's all about some mindset. And so, thank you for joining me. And again, I'm going to be talking about how self awareness fuels confidence, daily decisions that are shaped daily, and discipline compounds success. And so, I'm going to start with this. And one of the things I want to start out with by saying this: I have a financial background and leadership as well, having served over 22 years in the Air Force. In fact, today is my anniversary where I celebrate my 23rd year of retirement from the United States Air Force. So, yay for me. All right. So, we often chase financial freedom, business growth, and influence, especially as solopreneurs. But the truth is, none of it lasts without self leadership. And so, this episode, which is Wealth Academy Podcast episode 314, I explore how mastering your mindset and habits creates the foundation for every form of wealth. Now, every form of wealth is not only monetary, but it's also our mind, body, spirit, and our soul. It's about relationships, communicating, having empathy, and also listening to people. That's a very, very important communication skill as well. And so, what I want to talk about is self awareness and how it fuels confidence, discipline, how it compounds success, and then the daily decisions that shape identity. And this is how it's all going to start today. Now, self awareness is the cornerstone of all personal growth and leadership mastery. It's the moment you recognize that every result in your life is a reflection of your inner world, your beliefs, emotions, and habits. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is the fact that we all have a physical body, and our physical body represents the house we live in for the duration of our lives, from the time that we are born and into the earthly realm, until the time we pass on and transition into the spiritual realm. And so we want to be able to take care of that in our mind, body, and spirit, because it's a trinity. And when they're all in alignment, things work out better for each and every one of us. And so it's very important to know this. Now, when you become aware of your thoughts and how they influence your behavior, you gain the power to change your outcomes. Now, that clarity breeds confidence because you're no longer reacting to circumstances, you're leading yourself through them. And the most effective leaders and financially successful individuals are those who continually ask, what's really driving me right now? Now, I had this particular question a long, long time ago. I've had a lot of rotations around the sun. And in fact, I've had so many rotations around the sun that the sun and I know each other on a personal basis. And what I mean by this is that when I was young, I started working at the age of 10, but it was not a paid position. It was my father volunteering me to open up the store each day after school. And I did this for 5 years. And I couldn't find my way through because I no longer had any after school activities, no sports. I couldn't hang out with my friends. And it was just hard work. I just thought my life was coming to an end. And what happened is that I finally realized that, you know what? I'm really learning business here. And I was learning business because when I opened up the store each day, I would each and every day I would probably open it up and there's a different vendor there, someone who delivers the bread, who delivers the milk, the ice cream, you name it. And people extended credit. My father had me to extend credit to people in the community, local community, to purchase groceries. And that way they didn't have to go to the big box grocery stores, but they could get it locally just walking down the street, or we would actually deliver food to them. And so I found myself thinking that, well, I'm not sure where this is going to lead me, but I did it. I did it for 5 years. And so when I looked at my outcome starting out, my vision for myself, it didn't look good. But over time, and I finally stopped working in the store and started playing football at the local high school in Henderson, North Carolina. I realized that I needed to understand that teamwork aspect. And so playing on a team and having a coach, having different coaches, not only for football, but for track, really changed my outlook on life because I found that we all need each other. And what I mean by we need each other, we need to help each other to grow, to develop, and to be that person that we want to be. And so it helped me to understand and provided me with that self-awareness that fuels confidence. Now, self awareness creates emotional intelligence, one of my favorite topics, and then it strengthens decision making and helps us to show up as our authentic selves, grounded and powerful selves. And what this means is that the better decisions that we make in our lives, the better the results are going to be. And that's one of the things I really want to pass on to you. For example, as I stated, I was commissioned as second lieutenant in the Air Force on the day I graduated from college at Shaw University. And what it meant was, once I came on active duty in the United States Air Force, all of those experiences that I had as a 10-year-old through being a 15-year-old, they came into play. How to get along with other people, how to work with people, how to understand myself better and make the best decisions that I could. And joining the Air Force, I really learned a lot. And then after 8 years, I got out of the Air Force and I went to work for Mobil Oil Company in Beaumont, Texas, and with our district office in Houston, Texas. And so I really learned a lot in that time frame. And then fast forward 2 years later, the Air Force came calling and they brought me back in. And I served at the Pentagon for 12 consecutive years. And one of those years was a year on Capitol Hill as a Capitol Hill fellow working for a member of Congress in the U.S. House of Representatives. So when I package all of this up, everything still goes back to my youth, back as a 10-year-old, not really having that vision that I eventually understood, and it came through for fruition for me later on in life. And I'll tell you right now, everyone who's living in today's society and in this world, our self-awareness is our greatest tool that we can lean into and our greatest resource. So let's go to daily decisions and how they shape destiny. And again, the quality of our decisions could very well be based on the questions that we ask others as we learn from them and we work with them, from our colleagues, for the people that work for us, the people that we work for. Decisions really count and they matter. Now, destiny, of course, isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create one decision at a time. And every choice you make, from how you spend your time to how you respond to challenges, shapes the trajectory of your future. And so the small, consistent decisions, choosing to learn instead of complain, to save instead of spend, and to lead instead of follow, build momentum that defines your destiny. Now, I want to go back what I said earlier is that when we look at the fact that money isn't the only form of wealth, it also means that we need to earn money. And when we earn more money, it gives us the opportunity to help more people. And that's really what mine is all about right now. I'm not talking about helping people who don't want to work or people who are always asking for something. But in essence, if you were to ask them for something, they don't show up for you. I'm talking about people who legitimately need help, a little financial help, shoulder to lean on, to ask some questions, to come to obtain some of your knowledge and your wisdom. And so when it comes down to making those daily decisions, a person who decides that they want to do something illegal when they know it's illegal, the only thing I can say is, first of all, before they made the decision, they knew it was wrong and they knew the consequences that go with it. And then they want someone to bail them out, which I don't believe that someone should be bailed out if you already know you've made a bad decision. So what I'm saying is we have to live for God and we have to live for ourselves and for our families. And so those daily decisions that we make truly, truly shape our destiny, trying to do the right thing most of the time. And wealth and leadership are not the result of one monumental moment, but the accumulation of intentional actions. So over time, you work to do better. And the better you do, the better the results you're going to have. And it's all based on the decisions that you make. And trust me, when I left the Air Force after 8 years as a captain and going to Mobil Oil Company, I primarily went for selfish reasons, but I'm still glad I did it. And the reason why is when I went to them, I was a financial analyst, and I always wanted to know what it was like to work for a Fortune 500 company. Thus, I ended up working for Mobil Oil. I also had Michelin Towers in the close running for me to be on their staff as an accountant for them in Greenville, South Carolina, but I chose the oil and gas over tires. And so, as you can see, I had to make a decision, but leaving the Air Force, it just really, it hurt inside, but I knew by trying and going to a corporate uh, Fortune 500 company that it's something I needed to get out of my system. And I did after 2 years. And everything worked out just great. I was able to come back to the Air Force and to retire years later after 22 years of service. And one of the things when we look at it is when you make decisions aligned with your values, your visions, and your goals, you move closer to the life you're meant to live. Because deep down on the inside of us, we all have these drive to do the very best that we can, whether we're an employee or whether we're an employer, meaning being an entrepreneur, leading a business or leading someone else's business at a very high level. So our daily decisions really make a big difference. So each day gives us and you and I a chance to either reinforce our past or reimagine our future. So choose wisely because your destiny is written in your daily decisions. So make great decisions and everything will work out just fine. Now, one of the decisions I made also was applying to become a Capitol Hill Fellow, meaning I would work in a member of Congress office for roughly a year. And the program I went through was the Government Affairs Institute at Georgetown University, and I was actually going through an academic program with them as I was serving on Capitol Hill. Now, I was still in the military, but I didn't wear a uniform. I wore a suit every day, and I handled issues for the congressmen that entail all branches of the military and the Veterans Administration, and much, much more. And so it was a decision that came through a vision and I was trying to really stay in great conditioning. So as I was assigned at the Pentagon, I would run up to Capitol Hill and back. So that's 8 miles round trip. And one day I was at the halfway mark at Capitol Hill and I was at the steps of the hill. And something inside of me, a voice stated, "You're going to work here one day." And I was like, "Oh my God, it must be too hot out here. I'm imagining things." And then a couple of weeks later, a piece of paper showed up through our internal inter-office mail at the Pentagon, and it said, "Apply to become a Capitol Hill Fellow." And so I applied, and the first year I didn't get it because my supervisor, he didn't want me to go. He wanted me to stay there because of the work that I was putting out was really great, and he liked that. And so the next year I applied, and I was accepted. And I went through the program, but it was that decision that I made based on a voice inside of my head that told me one day you're going to be working here. And sure enough, I did, and I successfully completed that fellowship program a couple of years before I eventually retired. So far, what I've covered is how self-awareness fuels confidence, and I also talked about daily decisions and how they shape our destiny. Now, the last item that I'm going to cover is going to be how discipline compounds success. Man, oh man, I know a lot about discipline. My father was very disciplined on me. Now, imagine this. I'm in one of 10 children, 5 boys and 5 girls born to parents. And my father never served in the military. He was a factory worker, just as my mom were. They were part of the working poor as I was growing up. And one of the things, as the oldest son, everything fell on me. Everything that happened, I had to take care of it. And I think in many ways that helped to develop my discipline. So by the time I did enter the Air Force, I was overqualified for discipline. But let's talk about it a little bit more. Now, motivation may spark the beginning of change, but discipline sustains it. And discipline is the quiet commitment to do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it, like I did several times, like we all do. Sometimes you're just not feeling it that day. And it's the structure that transforms. It's the structure that transforms vision and reality. Now, every time you follow through on your commitments, you strengthen the muscle of self-trust, and that consistency compounds into extraordinary success over time. And what this means is that the more experiences you have, and let's say you may fail at some of the things that you attempt to do, you're failing forward, meaning failure is not final, but it's a teachable moment, if you will. And the more you try something, the better you get at it. And then you stop making all the mistakes, and then you start putting your imprint on it. And is what makes all the difference. Now, just as compound interest multiplies your money, discipline multiplies your results. Whether it's staying consistent with your budget, keeping promises to yourself, or sticking to your growth habits, discipline ensures progress even in the absence of excitement. And so, what this means is, as an example, a very unique experience. I worked at the Pentagon for 12 years, and I was actually brought back in along with 3,000 other people back to active duty in the Air Force because of Desert Shield. So there was a war taking place. And then ultimately, Desert Shield turned into Desert Storm. And so that's a very unique, a wartime experience. And so it takes discipline to do that because your life no longer becomes your own, but the organization that you work for. And sometimes you won't work 24 hours a day. You may work 48 hours, never going home. And being fortunate to work at the Pentagon, they do have cafeterias open and places you can get food. I could go down to the gym, the Pentagon gym, and I could work out in the morning, shower there, and go directly back to the office. Or there was a time that I went with one of my leadership, and we went to the Dutch embassy, and we negotiated on behalf of the United States and foreign military sales, and we would have training for other countries to train them to uh, help them to become better for their military in their country. And so it's discipline has to come through that because you're dealing with ambassadors, you're dealing with prime ministers, you're dealing with presidents of different countries. And so it's very unique experiences. And again, discipline wins the day. So the people who achieve lasting success aren't the most talented, they're the most disciplined. They understand that daily discipline applied with purpose creates unstoppable momentum. And so there you have it. This mindset area for this playlist, the very first of 12 episodes that I will be covering, involves and lets you know that it all starts with you because you have the power of leadership. And today I covered how self-awareness fuels confidence, daily decisions shape destiny, and discipline compounds success. And this is a kickoff for this playlist that I'm covering over the next 12, next 11 episodes, if you will. And so I am really honored to be able to do this and provide this information today. And may it help someone that you know. And I hope it helps you all, the subscribers, the fans, and the followers and colleagues. And so that trying to help make someone else's day better. Now, again, I want to thank you. And what I would love for you to do, and I'd appreciate if you would go out there to Apple Podcasts, because that's where I'm sending everyone, and just simply look up Wealth Academy Podcast. Provide a 5-star rating, and also rate and review this episode. And it would make a tremendous difference. And I have another episode coming up very shortly. And so I really appreciate it if you would follow me, subscribe to my Apple Podcasts, and get out there, rate and review this episode. It all starts with you. Self-leadership. You should not try to lead anyone else unless you can lead yourself first. And that is my mantra. So thank you very much. And I'll see you on the next episode of Wealth Academy Podcast. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon. And I really appreciate all of your support. Again, the name is Paul Lawrence Van, the founder and host of Wealth Academy Podcast. And remember, wealth is more than just money. Have a great day, everyone. See you on the next episode.